This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, don't forget to send us your PR Podcast plug. This is where we love on you a little bit with something you've done in your extracurricular life, right? We've all got our 9 to 5, but we all do things on the outside. For example, I host this show, right? So we want to hear about something fun that you do on the outside. Maybe you have a podcast like our guest today. Maybe you wrote a book. Like our friend Jerry Barmash, who just wrote a book, and he was a guest on the PR Podcast as well. Maybe you got an awesome TikTok channel. Maybe you got a cooking habit. Maybe you play a mean guitar. Maybe you won an award. Give us something that you've done that you're proud of. Send us a note on any of the socials, either at the PR Podcast or at Jody Fisher. Let us know that cool thing that you did, and we'll give you a plug in an upcoming episode. Now on with our show for today. We have a guest from across the pond. Steve Baker was a traditional PR pro for nearly 20 years before he moved into digital with Propellernet in 2011. He now manages a growing team of 13 people and is responsible for their ongoing development, ensuring everyone is motivated, happy, and delivering their best work. He also co-hosts the Digital PR Podcast with Louise Parker, and a new season is coming up starting in the fall of 2024. Steve, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Jody. I'm excited. It's a treat to be a guest rather than a host. So yeah, absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And I've been in that chair as well. It is fun being a guest on somebody else's show. Since we're there, I want to hear about Propellernet, but tell us about the Digital PR Podcast.
So that was born, me and Louise, co-heads of PR at Propellernet, got our heads together. And honestly, the basis of it was nothing more complicated than we see all these people on Twitter and social all the time that we respect, love their work. We really want to chat to them. You kind of see them at events sometimes and say hi, but it's it's often a snatched conversation. And there's so many things to talk about in the world of PR, digital PR. So we thought it'd be good marketing for us, but also good fun and a good process, as I'm sure you found. Just making and creating a podcast, doing something that we'd never done before, and chatting to all these interesting people along the way. So we've had 2 seasons. We also run some mini episodes with people at Propellernet within the team. And then, yeah, as you mentioned in the intro, we've got a 3rd season coming up in the autumn, in the fall. And that's because Louise is on maternity leave at the moment. So we're kind of working around that, currently booking guests, but she loves it so much, as do I, that we're kind of working around that, and very excited to get the new season underway.
That's fantastic. Well, we encourage everybody to go on their favorite podcast platform, check out the Digital PR Podcast, not to be confused with the PR Podcast.
True.
But check that out, subscribe, check out some episodes. I'm definitely going to do that as well. It's a terrific show, and I'm going to hit that subscribe button myself. So let's dive into your 9 to 5 here, Steve. Tell us about Propellernet. What do you guys do?
So we are Propellernet's a digital marketing agency based in the UK, down in Brighton. So just an hour sort of south of London by the seaside. Beautiful place to live, beautiful place to work. We've been based there since we were founded around 20 years ago. We are regularly recognised as a great place to work. We've won awards for that. So we really do look after our people. I've been there nearly 13 years now. So, there's a lot of people, there's people that have been there longer. It's a place people tend to stay for a long time. Got some outstanding perks like unlimited holiday, which really works for us. But it's not just a great place to work. We also do great work. So we do digital strategy, content, digital PR, paid media, and kind of technical SEO as well. So quite a wide suite of digital marketing. We've got a wide range of clients as well, sort of spanning some big, well-known, hotel chains, quite a lot of travel, fitness, fashion brands, And focus is obviously on delivering brilliant work for clients, but we make sure we put people and planet first. So we've got a slight differential in that we're a certified B Corp. We think we're one of the first digital agencies, which means that we're a business. We went through a big process to show we're a business that meets the highest standards of positive social environmental impact. And I guess I'll conclude by saying, no, I'm biased, but I would say we're one of the best, if not the best, digital PR teams out there. You know, we produce consistently creative and impactful work that I'm extremely proud of. So yeah, it's a great agency to work for, a great place to be.
You can hear the passion in your voice. You really love what you do, and that's nice to hear. It's also nice to hear that you put an emphasis on the employees, keeping people happy, keeping people motivated. I feel like, especially coming out the other side of COVID, we've got a lot of, and I'll just call it generally, workplace dysfunction. And I think the priority of making people do their best work by making them happy in whatever way they define happy, I think is really important. And it even got lost a little bit, right? How did you navigate COVID and sort of post-COVID coming out?
It was a difficult time for me personally. I just literally at the start of 2020, I'd moved house. I'd had my first child, and then COVID hit. So mentally going from, it was literally at the end of, I never went back to the office after paternity leave. So that was really challenging because I was trying to manage and grow this team of people, and doing it from, like I hadn't set up a home office because I just moved house. So it's like kind of, from a chair table in my kitchen. But me and the senior team, the two MDs, head of client services, heads of other teams, we thought really carefully about how to manage it. So we introduced things like unlimited holiday because, there was that kind of stop-start nature of COVID. And it doesn't work for some agencies, but it certainly does for us. But people were kind of really reticent to book time off because they didn't know if it was going to get cancelled, if there was going to be a lockdown, all that kind of stuff. So we're like, the first thought for us was always like, how can we help people enjoy their lives, both in and outside of work? So it's like unlimited holiday. That means people aren't just sort of banking holiday and it's kind of, there's a backlog of it, towards the end of the year. It's like, it's going to work for us, but it means people can take a breather, can take time off without counting those holiday days. And yeah, it really works for us. Like little things like that help. We also know that other agencies, and it's totally fine whichever way. In fact, we had a really good debate on this on the Digital PR podcast. Fully remote or in the office, and our policy is like work where you work best. So for me, I go into the office 2 days a week because I love it. I love being around people. It really motivates me. It's a lovely space. It's in the center of Brighton, but I work from home 2 days a week, which, for me as a father of two now is a godsend. I can be there when they come home from school. And yeah, everyone can choose. And to be honest, Jody, it's really helped with our hiring as well. So when we were growing the team pre-COVID, it had to be people in the local vicinity or who were willing to travel because we had to be in the office 5 days a week. And now we have, people in London that might come to the office like once or twice a month. People far up north in the UK who are just brilliant people, and it works for us. It works remotely. So we've thought long and hard, improved our perks, and just made sure that people, whichever way they want to take it, feel comfortable and are doing great work. Because I just think, why would you not do that? Surely the whole thing is about getting people to do great work. That's what I see anyway.
I love to hear that philosophy because I know that here in the States, there's this big debate over, back in the office, full-time, hybrid, fully remote. And there are some pretty dug-in heels, especially I think from our corporate overlords, of which I don't have one anymore. Yay! Who are just adamant about return to the office. And you, as someone who's overseeing employees, and you stated yourself, seeing the value of putting people together in the same room. Yeah, there is value in that. But I feel like being able to, and hearing you describe it, balance the necessity of in-person collaboration with the necessity of working best from wherever you are. And the business that
Mm.
we're in, we're able to do that, right? We don't have to go into a factory. We don't have to, or go into a hospital, right? Or get into a police car or something like that. We can work basically from wherever we are. It's great to hear you putting that emphasis on the work product, regardless of the way it gets produced.
Yeah, and it's going to be bespoke as well, like not just for us, but for clients as well. Some clients are way keener to meet face to face regularly. Of course, we'll do that. We love doing that. But some clients, just the way the world has changed, see the efficiency in doing most of our meetings kind of, remotely on Zoom. It works. The technology works. So we can still meet face to face, but actually, there's something quite nice about doing a lot of work over. So in the PR team at Propellernet, we meet once a month. No matter where we are in the country, we meet once a month face to face, like the entire team. And the beauty of it is because we do all of our work kind of, or most of our work remotely, um, we focus on fun for that day. So like once a month, we never did that before. We had like, drinks after work and stuff, but now we prioritize fun. We just did like a thing in London. We're just playing fairground games and just hanging out. And you get people to know each other better that way because you're not so focused on the work and sort of having to like plan a big team meeting or anything like that because they happen online and technology's improved. So, but it is different for everyone. I get it. I get it. I get why if you've got a big office space, you want people in there. It can improve culture. It's going to differ, but for us, and we're a relatively smallish agency, sort of small, medium size, it works well. So we're not going to change it. Not in a hurry, anyway.
That's great. That's great. Let's talk about the work of your agency. And you talked a little bit about the
Mhm.
different services that you provide. And
Mhm.
what I'm hearing, I've worked in the agency environment as well, and sort of in an agency that specifically does a combination of marketing, advertising, SEO, PR, digital. Talk a little bit about how the philosophy of integrating all of those disciplines and how they work together. What's your approach?
Well, firstly, it's hard. It's a challenge. And being completely honest, it doesn't always come together like in the best possible. We're always working on it. We're always working on it. Always having discussions. How can we do this better? There's always room for improvement. But ultimately, the way we do it, the way we see it, is everything starts with insight and our strategy team no matter the piece of work. So we have clients come to us just for digital PR. Some come to us for like full SEO, which includes digital PR and content and technical SEO. Some come just for strategy or a content project, but everything starts with insight and strategy. We need to know about the audience we're engaging with, what motivates them, what media they consume, what really matters to them ultimately. And our insight strategy team have some brilliant tools at their disposal. And I'm constantly kind of wowed and impressed, still after 13 years of like the stuff they bring back. And it's like, this is gold. This is brilliant. Like, this is great for creative. This is great for us just understanding the kind of publications we want to target. We also want to know everything, as you'd imagine, everything we possibly can about our clients. We do a lot of digging there, their sector, their competitors. And that's all about creating and recommending the best strategy for success. And I think when we do that really well, it ensures that our our PR creative is always relevant and it's always targeted at the right people and places. Because we're digital PR, we obviously work really closely with our technical SEO team as well. So once we have the insight, the strategy in place, we're making sure that the client's website is set up in the right way for success, that we're going to gain links to the right pages as well. So that's really, really important to us. So we're looking at the competitiveness. We're looking at, some clients do such a broad range of things. We can't target everything all at once. So it's picking the right thing to focus on at any given time. And then I guess that the final couple of things is from a purely PR perspective, we're always thinking of three things. So what works for the brand and audience, that comes from us and the strategy and insight team, has to be relevant. We see quite a lot still of a lot of irrelevance in digital PR. I mean, PR generally, right? Like clients or companies trying to like really force something quite tenuous, and we want to be as relevant as possible. We're thinking about what a journalist will cover as well, because ultimately, if we can't see a journalist covering something, then we're not going to get the coverage and links we need. So there's no point in doing something. And then what will achieve links that benefit SEO. And then the final bit, I guess, is dependent on the campaign, dependent on the creative, dependent on the client as well. We'll look to link up with our clients' paid media and social teams, our own paid media teams, to amplify what we've created. It just gives it an extra aspect. So we're looking to create assets that work on social, on paid media, that we can kind of push out in different ways. So we're not just relying solely on the one-to-one pitch with journalists. So it does sync up well, and it's really fun to do, to work cross teams. But it's always a work in progress, I would say, when you're working cross team.
That sounds great. I feel like getting those different disciplines to coordinate, like you were talking about, can be a challenge, specifically around sort of the pace at which they move. I come from a news background, so I segued into PR. So I still move at the pace that the reporters move at and the newsrooms move at. And I try to get my clients to appreciate and to move at that same pace. I feel like PR, news coverage, and social kind of move at that similar pace, right? It can be hourly if you want it to be, but it can be day to day, or it can be a couple times a week, or weekly, however that is. But I feel like the marketing, advertising, campaign pieces of a marketing campaign move, for no bad reason, move a little slower, right? Because there's lots of thought that goes into it. Not that there's not thought that goes into PR, but you're creating a campaign, you're creating assets, you're building a website, and that takes some time. I get the whole setting it up first, but then how do you get all those things to run together, given that PR and social might be just having a faster pace than other things?
Well, again, it doesn't always work perfectly. So we have clients where we really want to do something reactive, something that's kind of reacting to something topical in the news, maybe like a popular TV show or a film or a sporting event, and they're really honest with us, and that's great to have that dialogue. They're like, our internal team, our social team, can't react that quickly. We just can't do that because we've got a schedule, and we work in a different way. We also have to be, I think one of the beauties of having worked somewhere for so long and understanding and sort of fine-tuned the processes, we're really good at kind of setting expectations with clients up front. So when we scope out a piece of work, we know that the strategy and insight team need quite a chunk of time to really delve deeply into the kind of things, using the tools that they use, finding the kind of the right things that we need about that audience. That takes time. We can't go, hey, give us something in a day. I mean, we wouldn't get great quality. So you're absolutely right, Jay. We need to understand other people's kind of workflows and the pace they work at, and not kind of rush into things. So I think expectation setting with the client, but also for ourselves as well. We also, I think, one of the common mistakes in my experience that I've seen is rushing into creative. So not be, kind of, what's the way of putting it? I'm searching for the right word here. Almost like downplaying the value of creative and ideas by kind of going, oh, hey, let's just come up with an idea really super quickly. And my opinion is these things take time. So we have built in process where it's like, hey, it's going to take us, we have the initial briefing, then we give ourselves time to think about ideas solo, then come back together as a group. It's not just, again, it works differently for different people, but not just come back in one big group and start throwing ideas around, like, oh, that one's good, that one's good, that one's not. We've been there, we've done that. So it's an interesting question, because the pacing of things is so important, and ultimately it's trying to pause and buy yourself as much time as possible across all these different disciplines to ensure you're doing the right thing.
And super easy to overdrive, maybe an American phrase, overdrive the headlights, right? To want to run faster, maybe to satisfy the client, or maybe to feel like you're getting something done. And I feel like that can be the true Achilles heel of any campaign, whether it's PR, social, marketing, advertising,
Mm,
anything. And to what you're describing there, sort of moving too fast in order to produce something.
mm.
Because you, like you said, you ultimately produce something that is just subpar, just is not the as good as it can be. And patience really is a virtue there, right?
Absolutely. I saw something the other day on Twitter actually, which intrigued me because I think it's true. But it, like the tech world where they're sort of building something like an app or something akin to that, and they work in often like work in sprints and kind of go like, right, we're going to do this kind of thing quite quickly, then we're going to move on to the next thing, and they set themselves quite sharp deadlines, and I love that. I think that's really interesting, a really interesting way to work. But it's almost like we sort of see stuff like that in the creative world, the PR world, and go, oh, that's interesting. Maybe we should do that. And creative is different. It's not building an app. So let's not, like try and use all these things without thinking whether they're actually going to be helpful. By all means, try different ways of working. But I found that quite fascinating because it's like, well, you don't have to break things. You have to give yourself time. And I personally think great creative takes time. And yeah, rushing things is never the best way to do things. We can work at speed, obviously, and do work at speed, but more time is better for sure.
Do you have a campaign that springs to mind that you're particularly proud of, or you remember like, you took your time and it worked out just right? You don't have to drop names if you want, but sort of a little lesson learned.
Yeah, I do actually, and it's one that we're incredibly proud of because it just went so well and was quite a challenging, I guess, quite a challenging brief. So I won't name the client, but it's fairly obvious, I suppose, when I talk about anyone who's seen our website and case studies. But it was quite I guess, quite a dry subject in the sense it's in the automotive sector, but it's ultimately about car scrappage. So when you get to the point where your car is so sort of beaten up, you need to just sort of get rid of it. And um, they came to us and wanted to, they'd had the same old ideas, and they wanted something to stand out and be really creative, but also, to get coverage, to get links, to positively impact their SEO. It's a really interesting brief. And we really took our time on it. We got the whole team involved, and we had a great ideas session on it, and we had a lot of ideas for that. But the one that really stood out was something called Rage Yard. So all the pent up, it was towards the tail end of 2020, we launched the campaign. All that pent up frustration of COVID that people were feeling, it was really simple. We thought, what do we have? We have scrap yards of cars, and what are people feeling? They're feeling frustrated. So we created a kind of a new experience, a form of rage therapy, where you could win the opportunity to go to one of these scrap yards, drive a tank around and shoot cars and just smash them up. And they had like COVID written on it. And it was beautiful in its simplicity, but we had to take our time because we wanted to get a suite of images because we knew images would sell it, and video as well. Like we could have just written a press release and said this is happening. We would have got some coverage with it because it's an interesting story, but we needed the images, the video, and our creative director Richard was superb on that. He went and oversaw the whole shoot, got some fantastic imagery. We created a campaign page on the client's website. We had some brilliant video to sell in, and yeah, it was one of those campaigns where, dare I say it, not easy, but it just feels beautiful to sell it into journalists because it just gained momentum. Like it was covered in a lot in the US, the UK, around the world. It just captured people's attention. But it wouldn't have been as good had we not taken our time and made sure we got the assets we needed and really pushed for that.
All right, now, do you remember the client's reaction when you pitched the idea? And then was their
Yeah.
reaction different when they saw the results of the idea?
Um, that's a great question. No is the honest answer. The reaction wasn't different, but I remember distinctly because I was on the call where we pitched the idea, and we saved it till last. We knew it was a gem and we really wanted them to do it, and we were willing to push for it, and kind of say, this is the idea we really want to do. And their face lit up. When you can just tell, like you've got something, you've captured their attention, and it was perfect. It was the idea we wanted to do, and it was the idea they wanted to see. And then they went on the shoot as well. So they basically, they were really excited about, which was fantastic. We want to excite clients. We want to always do that. So they were on the tank, sort of driving around, getting shots of them. It's just really cool. So yeah. And then obviously when the results came in, they had one particular website they wanted to get on, particularly when they briefed us. And it was interesting. They just saw it as, really important and something that they thought would be great for the brand. And we agreed. And it was so beautiful because I think I'm right in saying, I could be wrong, I think that was certainly, if not the first, one of the first pieces of coverage we got with that campaign. So taking that to the client saying, hey, we've done this campaign, we love it, we think you love it, but we've also got in this publication that you really wanted to get on, and it got hundreds of pieces of coverage. It was a joy, an absolute joy. And one of those winning award nominees type campaigns. So yeah, that was a proud moment.
That's an awesome one. That sounds like a lot of fun, a really fun campaign to work on. And those are the best when those campaigns kind of take on a life of their own. You set them up to run, and then they just start to run, and you almost feel like a participant in them in a way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. For me, there's even after 13 years in digital PR, but another sort of 6 or so in traditional. I still get that buzz every single time when you land a piece of coverage. Just why there's lots of reasons I still do it, but that's one of the main reasons I love it. And you've hit the nail on the head, where you feel like a participant. You get into the office or log on every day, and it's like there's been like another 20 pieces of coverage, and it's just getting picked up by places that we haven't even pitched to. It's beautiful. It's such a great feeling. Such a great feeling.
It is, for people who are not familiar, it is the ultimate adrenaline sport. It really
It really is. Like, hey, I remember chatting to my wife about it. I was like, hey, I helped to create this. This is, and she, at first she was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, no, you really have to look. And then when she engaged with it, she was like, but it's one of those, we talk about wanting to create campaigns that you would hear, and we've had it a few times at Propellernet, where you hear independently when you're down the pub or at a bar or what have you, someone talking about it. Yes. And they don't know you've worked on it or whatever. And that's what you want to do. You want to influence people. You want to get people talking. And yeah, that campaign certainly did that. So great feeling.
I remember that feeling. There were days when I was working in New York City, and I would ride the New York City subway, and I'd work on, any given story for any given client, and see people reading the news back when they read newspapers, reading the newspaper, and they're literally reading the story that you worked on, that you put there. It's so much fun.
It's such a buzz. Such a buzz.
That's the best. That is the best. Well, we could tell you love your job. We can tell you're passionate about what you do. And I think the people who work at Propellernet are really fortunate to have you at the helm. So thank you for spending the time with us today, Steve. Appreciate it. We are going to segue now and have even more fun, if you can imagine it, with our rapid fire question portion of our podcast. This is where we steal a page from inside the actor's studio. We ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions meant to elicit a simple answer, maybe a laugh or two. We're going to get your gut reaction here. Stephen Baker, all the way from the UK. Here we go with rapid fire question number 1. What is your favorite news source?
The Guardian.
What do you look for in the Guardian specifically?
I love everything about it, to be honest. Like the layout of it's beautiful. It's beautifully designed. Big sports fan. So I often do this thing where I go sports first. I just sort of ease my way in. And then I just they got some great tabs. I obviously look at quite a lot going on politically in the UK. So I look at the politics and a lot of lifestyle, because we've got a lot of clients working in lifestyle. I love it. What I do try and do, though, I know I'm moving away from rapid fire. What I do try and do is read a different news source every day. So just working in PR, so it's not like I look at the Guardian every day, but I will look at, the Telegraph, New York Times, and like all around the world, just try and get different perspectives, look at different writers, what they're doing. But the Guardian is I always come back to it.
100%, 100%. Rapid fire question number 2. What's your favorite social media platform?
Twitter or X. I haven't got used to calling it X. Twitter though.
It's
for
not.
sure.
I'm not calling it X. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm glad. I just didn't want to offend
It's
anyone
Twitter.
for some reason. Twitter for sure. Yeah,
For
I
sure.
don't post a lot though.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
I don't post a lot. I'm just one of those people who just scrolls. I just don't post a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Rapid fire question number 3. Coffee or alcohol?
Alcohol. If you'd asked me tea or alcohol, it would be tea. I'm quintessentially British. I love tea. I think it's one of the greatest things ever to have happened to humanity. But alcohol, I'm not a big coffee fan. So yeah, I'll take a glass of wine or some beer.
Sounds good. Rapid fire question number 4. What's your favorite on the run food?
I mean, I never ever run with food. I don't eat whilst walking. I see people eating and walking, and it's like this is insane. Slow down. Let's chill out. Take a seat. I'd go for something like, there's a really good place near Propellernet, a falafel wrap. Something that's kind of sturdy, like a burrito-y type thing. That's like held in place. That would be quite a good on the run food.
Travels well, right? And rapid fire question number 5. What do you want to be after you finish this career?
So on the side of Propellernet, I don't think I've mentioned this to you, Jodie. On the side of Propellernet, I'm a sports commentator. So I'm a football commentator, soccer to be precise. And yeah, I think I already do a bit of that. I think I do, maybe a bit more of that, or go into like, coaching, psychology type thing. But yeah, I love the sports commentary. Yeah, I do that, I think.
That sounds good. That sounds like a fun job. Well, Steve,
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation. Please let people know how they can find you online.
So website propellernet.co.uk. Social, follow me on Twitter, Steve Baker 83, or you can find me easily on LinkedIn. And then yeah, email me if you want to chat, anything like that. Stephen with a PH at propellernet.co.uk. I'd love to hear from you.
Sounds good, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Appold. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and on the web at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.